Hi everybody and welcome. This is the Apostate Prophet. I'm here in Germany, in Berlin, with a very important task that means a lot to me, and I am here with a very important person and with very important people in a country that means a lot to me, a country that I was born in, a country that I was raised in, a country whose values I learned to love, but whose values seem to be eroding when you first look at it. However, there are people who want to prevent that and who are doing an awesome job, and I want to talk to those people. So today, I finally have the great pleasure and great honor to speak to the Vice Chair of the AfD group in Parliament, Ms. Beatrix von Storch. And I also have with me
Vivian Berkovich.
Vivian, yes.
Yeah. Also on YouTube and with a website, but smaller following.
Yeah, yes. First off, hello, Ms. von Storch. How are you doing?
I'm fine. We're in the midst of the campaign. We're having the election on the 23rd of February, so kind of busy at the very moment, but we think we're doing good and we're very looking forward to having something new coming up in Germany.
I see that there is a lot of change going on. I just saw polls yesterday about the AfD's standing in certain regional elections, and it's very surprising. What I remember is a decade ago, when the AfD was first starting out, people were joking about the AfD. They were saying,
stopped joking now.
Yeah, they weren't taking it seriously. They were mocking it. It was just starting out. And now the AfD is contending to be a leader in German politics.
That's correct. So in all the polls, we are about at 20% plus, and the others are stuck or going down. So and we're setting the agenda. People talking about the issues we came up with a decade ago, or at least 5, 6, 7 years ago. But now one can say a decade, because 2015, that was the moment when Angela Merkel opened the borders and everyone could come to Germany, whoever wanted. And ever since we are addressing this topic, and now everyone is talking about it. Now they realize something has to be done because too many people are dying. Mm-hmm. They are stabbed, they are murdered. We have lost the control of our inner security. So this is now a topic, and we always said, if you don't close the borders, that will be the result. Here we are.
As I just mentioned, I grew up in Germany. I learned values here. One of the things that I have very much in memory, which is also what is kind of strange when I travel around the world, if I tell people around the world that it's considered strange to be proud to be German or strange to be patriotic in Germany, they usually don't understand. But I, for example, learned from early childhood or as a teenager, as somebody of Turkish background in Germany, that Germans don't really have the right basically to be proud, and that this is something that they shouldn't be, talking about, that this is controversial. I see that there's a change happening, possibly also with recent changes of policy in terms of immigration, integration, and so on. We also recently had Alice Weidel with Elon Musk talk about pride, which was very interesting. Do you believe that there is a re-emergence of patriotism and pride in Germany, and German people finally finding the right to be proud of who they are again?
Well, you know that this is a very complicated issue in Germany, and I think we have to learn not to forget about the past, while at the same time being able to be proud of your country. And this is the way we should address it. You can't build a country, on everything what has been gone very, very, very wrong in the past. This is nothing which will lead you to a bright future. You have to still, as a German, do not forget what has happened, but still we have to build a country on pride, on joy, on positive values, which keeps us together. because this is what strengthens a nation. This is what you need as a nation. And we forgot it, yes. And everyone who's starting to talk about it, that we, as every other nation in the world, has also the right to be proud of our country. They come up and say, "You want to forget about the past," and you know. So that's a difficult thing in Germany, and I think we have to come forward. I think we have to not to forget. I have to say it in every single sentence because otherwise some will pick only one phrase and then they will come on and tell us that we want to abolish everything what was in the past, and we are also addressing it. And we're addressing the past in the way that we say, if you come up, and this is what they're doing, and they're addressing us as far-right extremists, which means Nazi, then they are the ones to diminish what has happened in the past. If addressing the present the way we do not want to have mass migration. We know. As a matter of fact, there are 2 genders and not hundreds. If we say a family exists from mother, father, and kids and nothing else, if we want to go in a different way with Europe and we want to stick to nation states rather than to have a federal state of Europe, and then they come up with, and this is Nazi, we would say, you are the ones to forget about what Nazi stands for. Yeah. That was killing 6 million Jews in an industrial way. So they shouldn't come up with that, but they do so. And this is why the young people now think Nazi cannot be all that bad if they're addressing these people who are against mass migration as being Nazi. So we have to come over it. We will remember. But we have to move forward in the sense that we need, as a national identity, something which is positive and what we can be proud of. And I am very proud of being what I am, what we are as a group, as a person, or as a state.
Fantastic. You made a very important point there, which is that they vilify you over important things and want to describe you as a Nazi, which leads to people misunderstanding, misconstruing what Nazi actually is, and then thinking, well, apparently it's not that bad. But there's also another aspect, which is the very same parties and the very same people who accuse the AfD of being far right and Nazi and fascist and whatever are currently the ones, as we speak, engaged in trying to block the AfD and trying to kind of build walls. They describe it as a firewall of wanting to not cooperate with the AfD, wanting to block out the AfD.
Yeah.
In the parliament, yeah. So the elite, the old parties, they seem to have it's set on their mind, despite the fact that the people, the population, incline more and more toward your ideas. The establishment, some of the establishment parties want to oppose working with you, which sounds more like fascism to me.
Well, I would not address this specifically as being fascist, but the way the crowds in the street are addressing us, they are breaking our windows, they are shouting at us, they are threatening us, they are trying to prevent us from being able to campaign in the street. And we have now seen thousands of people again marching in the street against the CDU, the Christian Democratic Party of former Chancellor Merkel and now Friedrich Merz, as maybe the next Chancellor of Germany. They are now going against them the same way they were attacking us in the past, because he came up with he tabled a motion in the parliament, and this motion has been adopted by the parliament with a majority of his party, CDU, Christian Democrats, and AfD, Alternative for Germany, and some liberals. So they are all they're running riot. Because they cannot accept that there is a majority to stop. There could have been, to be more precise, there could have been a real majority to stop mass migration everyone knows to stop mass migration and other things, it needs the votes of AfD, and they do not want to have those votes to form majorities, and this is why everything is stuck, one must say.
Do you see a future where you would, where the AfD would work together with the CDU to lead a change in this country toward readdressing, matters of migration, integration, borders, and so on?
I think we are on that track. Of course, CDU at the very moment is blocking it completely. They say it will never happen. Of course, we will not work together, and we will not only working with them together, but we will also not accept them voting for us on the basis of a minority government, so not forming a coalition, but still, addressing the parliament as a whole and then seeking its majorities. And there are some issues which can only be passed through and voted through the parliament with the votes of AfD, and then they do other stuff with other majorities. He's just giving up everything. But that's the way of the public debate. In the very beginning, they were just not talking about that at all. And then they were trying and starting to attack us. Now they're trying to come up with arguments. And in the very end, it will end like it has ended in Austria. In Austria, the same thing happened. So the CDU, Christian Democrats' sister party, which is the ÖVP in Austria, they said, we will not work together with our allies in Austria, which is the FPÖ. And we now know what's going on in Austria. We will have a chancellor of the FPÖ, which will be supported by the CDU, sister party, ÖVP, because FPÖ came in first and they came in second. And the same thing will happen in Germany. We will have a chancellor of AfD one day, which will be backed by CDU members. I'm very sure that this will happen in Germany.
This brings one question to my mind, which always confuses me. Over the last decade, when I checked polls to see what German people think, especially in terms of questions like opening borders to refugees, migration, and so on, I have consistently seen that the majority of people in Germany wanted to say no more refugees, no more migration.
Very clear.
Why is it that the people are very clear, which is why they also flock toward the AfD, but the political parties which purport to represent the majority of German people seem to kind of reject these opinions and seem to also reject any policies that want to limit the refugee influx? Why is that? Like, what exactly is happening?
I could answer that I don't know. They must be crazy. But maybe it's more what one can see it a bit clearer. So when you see who's backing mass migration, that's the party of the Greens, that's the party of the Social Democrats, and that's the party of the former Communist Party, the Linke. So they're in favor of multiculturalism. Everyone can come in. We have to be, we have to invite the whole world to Germany on the grounds of human rights, and I don't know what. Some of them believe that. Some of them are afraid of mass demonstrations in the street once you try to address the problem, and once you try to fix that problem. These are parts of the liberals and the Christian Democrats. If you attack them on that behalf, they will step backwards. But there is a number of people in this country, like 30%, who are crazy about. They want more migrants, and I mean, I had recently had a TV debate. And the journalist asking the questions, coming up with not migration but rapes. So is also due to not to asylum seekers, which is in all the numbers, but he came up with the silly idea that the problem was caused by Australians. And this is just ridiculous. Everyone knows that the number of rapes of women is growing and growing. We've got 10 rapes per day. by asylum seekers from Syria, from Afghanistan, from Iraq, and this silly guy came up with the idea, it might be from Australia. So some don't want to see the problem. They are keeping track on mass migration for whatever reason. I don't know. But we know the majority of the people are backing us and our ideas about limiting.
In your esteem, what would be the future plan of the AfD in addressing? I have heard some words very, very frequently in recent times, like remigration and things like that. But what would be the plan forward for the AfD for a healthy way to reverse and block future uncontrolled influx of refugees and migrations, and also to reduce the amount of unhealthy migration in Germany?
Closing down our border for everyone who's trying to come to Germany and seeking asylum, because everyone who's coming at the border of Germany is coming from a safe country. So someone who's coming from Denmark or from Austria or from all our other neighbors, they are safe. Mm-hmm. So there is no reason at all to come and seek asylum in Germany whilst you're in Denmark or in Austria, or in Poland, or in any other of our neighbors. So this is why we would say no one can come here. And this is addressed in our constitution. Our constitution says you have no right for asylum in Germany when you come from a safe country, and Germany is surrounded by safe countries. Very easy. So no one will get asylum in Germany walking through our borders. And the other thing is we have to get rid of all those who are illegally here already. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And then we have to check on those who are, and to some extent, legally here. Yeah. But they came from Syria. They come from Afghanistan. We cannot take in all people from all of the world only because there's an Islamic regime running their countries. I mean, that's ridiculous. They coming up with the rights of the women are not agreed upon in those countries. Yes, we know it's an Islamic country. That's the way Islam countries run their countries. Precisely. So why? And you want us to take all the women in because they have no rights under Islam law? Yeah, that's a matter of fact, but that's not our problem. We cannot solve that problem, to say the least.
That's a very good thing. You don't have the responsibility to fix their problems. You don't have to deal with that, right? So we know that they have their problems. And this also brings me to another point, which is Islam in Germany. Very controversial topic. For some reason, it's very controversial. In my opinion, it shouldn't be so controversial. I come from a Muslim background. I was raised in Germany here with very Islamic ideas. And while going to school and laughing and smiling in the faces of my teachers, I was told at home that they are our enemies and they are evil and so on. There are some really, really, really bad ideas and beliefs within Islamic culture that are very much in conflict with German values. And we talked a lot about whether Islam has a place in Germany, whether Islam belongs in Germany or not. What are your thoughts on the place of not only radical Islam, because I think it's like it's a misdesignation to simply call it radical Islam, about Islam in general and its place in Europe and specifically in Germany?
We don't have anything against Islam. The only thing we want to make sure is that Islam is not controlling our country. So if you want to stick to Islam law, if you want to live overall society with Islam ideas, so you can do that, but not in Germany. You have to go to any Islam world country in the world. So we're fine with that. So you can then leave our country and live the way you want to live, but don't try to change our rules. We do not want to adapt to Islam rules, to way of living. And as we all know, Islam is not only a religion, it is also a religion, one can say, or one must say whatsoever. The fact is that the majority of written rules in Islam are addressing the non-Muslims. Yeah. So they're addressing me. It's 51% of the written, so the Quran and the Hadithan, Hadith. It's addressing by its majority non-Muslims. They are addressing me. nothing to do with their religion if they are addressing me. So this is what we have to make very, very clear. And this part of the Islam, which is the majority, is the political Islam. And but they are seeking the rights of freedom of religion by addressing the non-believers. This is what we cannot accept, and we will not accept, and we will stop that. We will stop the impact of Muslim people engaging in our non-Muslims world. Very, very, very clear topic.
Beatrix von Storch, that's a great note on which to end. Thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's a great pleasure and a great honor. Thank you so much. And thanks, everybody.